right, everybody, good afternoon, good evening to you in Liberia. We say good evening, welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. That's the name of the platform. Indeed, we believe Liberia will rise. And my name is Augustin Sharif. I'm here with our constitutional specialist and also our health guru, Mr. Emmanuel Sapalucia. Mr. Sab, how you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. Our weather is cloudy today, and I think this topic is one of the interesting ones. Let's see how we can dive into it and get the view of our people if possible.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that is awesome. So I'm looking forward to the discussion as well. Looking forward to a very good conversation that we are going to have today. And I can't wait. I can't wait for us to really get into it and just bring about what we intend to talk about. Last week we talked about LEC issue. I got a notification where somebody say, "You're sitting in America, you're spoiled, nobody giving you a hard time, leave our electricity alone." So I said, okay, well, I mean, I guess somebody is listening. The fact that somebody have to say that, somebody is hearing. So today, though, today we're going to be talking about judiciary. We're going to be talking about the the big fish that was apparently caught in the net and then it got released. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the Summit 12 issue. And I'm looking forward to the discussion. Look, we are not here to pass any judgment. There's no law specialist here. But we are going to be talking about, I mean, sharing our opinion, what we think of the issue. And from what I'm hearing, there's also another indictment coming on him. So we'll just see. Or maybe they have called him to actually come and answer some more questions. We'll see how that goes. And so, Mr. Sapalucia, if it is possible, though, can you are you able to play a song for us, or music for us, while we get things queued up? If you go to videos, I think you'll be able to see some songs there. Let's just get something while I am getting situated here, and we'll get the show on the road. If it is not possible, we can.
Oh, hail Liberia, hail. Oh, hail Liberia, hail. This glorious land of liberty shall long be ours. The new name, great be her fame, and mighty be her powers. Oh, hail, oh, hail, oh, hail, oh, hail, the Lone Star forever. Oh, hail, Liberia.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, let's get back the show back on the road. Dr. Positive is here. Mr. Sapalucia is here. And today, though, Sapalucia, the way I like to start the show, I want to go right into it. Let's just start some discussion here, right? When you and myself were a little child, when we're children in Liberia, we were being introduced to corruption slowly and we knew nothing about it. Whether your mom and dad, they were sleeping in a room, and then your auntie or your uncles or somebody else was coming to visit at home, and then your mom tells you, hey, when so and so person come, tell them I'm not here. Corruption 101. So when someone show up, we just said, you can call it lie, you can call it blue collar lie, you can call it white collar lie. Corruption 101, corrupting the mind of the young kid. And then you look at it, you got to school, you did all your little thing, you get to high school. Those of you guys who are smart, you know exactly what some of your teachers were doing. Your teachers will come to you, the smart guys, and say, look, tell that particular person they failed my class, tell them they got to give you X amount of dollars to put in my hand, or you tell them I want to sleep with them. If they can't do it, they're going to repeat this course. They're going to repeat the class. You're the student, you're smart student, you guys were in the middle. Corruption. being introduced to corruption. You didn't know it was called corruption. You got your first job. You got your first job, or you were selling a little dunga flare water. Said, I know you are selling something. On Broad Street, selling your little dunga flare. You go and buy it, $5. And you want to sell it at that time, you're not even selling $5. But you want to sell it for $10 and you want to make 100% profit on this particular commodity that you just bought. And because you know there's nobody that's going to buy at 100%, you set the bar that hard. And then you start to come down to your ideal price. Corruption in the making. Here we go. And so by the time you get to your first real job in government, you whether it's government or in the private sector, you come to your boss and your boss say, hey, Emmanuel, I know the budget for this thing is 50,000, but I tell you what, my PG make it 75,000. You the controller. Poke the book. You have no problem with it because you were already, you have been bred since you were a kid. So by the time you got to that point, you just like, you know what? This is just part of the society. And so that's just my opinion before we really go into the show. So do you got a chance now to give us your opinion before we really get into the show, before we unpack this whole corruption trial and all these different things? So Alicia, you go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, like you rightly said, some of those things were not regarded as corruption, but it always been there gradually, right? I remember it's like when they give you the food, your parents give you the food, the way they used to put the rice together, or they're eating and they put the meat on top of it, they say one person divided meat, right? So, right, those are all part of corruption, right? They say one person, you be the older person divided meat, and then you taking the big one and giving the other one a very small one. Sometimes they had to cut it. But this is one that
I
was
like that example. That's a good one.
yeah. You know, one thing they used to sell the rice sellers in the market. They used to put candle either in the rice or they use a cupboard and they give it to when you go, you can't you say you bought 10 cup of rice, you go, you get someone and a half cup of rice. Right?
Yeah. Finish Apollos, yeah.
Yeah, those are all form of corruption, but people felt that, you know, and again, let us understand also it was because of what was unfolding, the condition that was available to these people. That's why they were doing all these things to make ends meet, right? Because you give the man a bag of rice, you tell him $150 for a bag, just putting a number out there. But then the 150 cups, the number of cups in there, when a man selling, he's not even getting quite $25 profit. So he or she got to find a way to maximize their profit, right? So it's the condition that was available that was people working with him. But yes, you can go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so I want to add another part to you guys. You're just talking about the people that were causing the trouble.
Is that your opening? Is that your opening, or are you talking on Sabalusia thing?
No, that's my opening. That's my opening.
Okay,
so the system was not just broken, right? There was penalty for your crime. So for those guys who used to put paper in their pocket to spy, when they catch you spying, they flog you. They will beat you. So the system had a little check and balance where even though some people used to pay bribe, some people never have money to pay bribe, they will want to spy. So when you're spying and they catch you, there was penalty. And what we are seeing in Liberia today, we are lacking that punishment phase in our judicial system. And that's what I hope that we can fix sometime in our history, because a lot of people committing so many crimes and they are going for free. And unfortunately, it's only the poor people that are being put in jail. You understand? So I hope and pray that our judicial system get unbiased such that everybody who commits a crime, whether you're rich or poor, you get the full weight of the law.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for your opening. And so about a week or so ago, there's a very peculiar case in the country, and each of us, we have been following the case, paying attention and trying to see what's going to happen. When the case first came up, honestly, I called two of my friends and I told them, I said, look, I'm no legal mind. I'm not a legal expert. I know nothing about Liberia's judicial system. But the little I know, I just told the guy, I said, it does appear to me that this particular case, the whole premise here, we are going after a specific individual, and that individual is suspect 0. That's our target. We are going after Toy, and he must be brought down. And I told my friend, I said, look, I got to tell you this. From the little I know, I don't think anything is going to come out of this case. I said, what they're going to look at, this is probably going to be one of those precedents setting case to deter other people from doing it or be mindful tomorrow when they are in position. But I don't think Toy is going to be found guilty. And the reason I said that, Mr. Sapolous here, I did not say that because I felt like the man did nothing wrong. That was not the reason why I said he was not going to be found guilty. I knew, yes, there were some questions to be answered. I knew there were some things to be addressed. I knew that there were some improprieties. There were some things that were done wrong. However, knowing the little I know about my country, I just knew that this case was not going to go far. What was your reaction, Mr. Sabulisa, when you heard the case?
No, I mean, you and I had similar reaction because if we look at the history of Liberia, especially in the last 20 years, all of the cases that we have had, the high-profile cases, if it is a group of people that were alleged to have committed a crime, the other people will be the one convicted, but the main stakeholders who are popular or have ties, have some political status in society or are aligned with the elites, they normally go free. And we can go from 2006 actually, coming all the way, because I tried to check from in the last 20 years, and we got cases upon cases upon cases. Depending on who you are, nothing come out of it, right? If you can look at the silver money case, you can look at the case about in fact, let's look at the one, even the Harry Grief case, the murder case. I mean, there are so many cases that we have not seen anything come out of it. Okay, so you like Bonnie Sherman case with the silver money, because he was charged with bribery and all the other stuff. What was done? Nothing. In fact, he was even accused by the U.S. Treasury that he was bribing the judges. Just imagine the U.S. Treasury is identifying that this guy is bribing the judges who is sitting on the bench for his case to set him free, and which he eventually set free, right? So it just shows a weak judicial system that we have. One, because of, so your assertion or your perception at the time was not far from what the pattern that we have seen over the years, right? Once you're a high profiler, your case is nothing, right? So I personally too, I felt the same way. If we just come even right currently, the assets recovery, we have a $16 billion. I mean, we got so many cases that we can go over that we won't find anyone that gave you a concrete result that came out, right? So it's just a pattern in Liberia, and it's because of certain things that is going on. Weak judicial system, or in my opinion, and this is I may be controversial in this one, either those government or people who are put in charge, if I have honor or administrations, they are not intentional about solving this problem. They just want to create political storm, in my opinion, where everybody will get elated and say, "Oh yeah, they're going to prosecute." Then whatever is going on under the ground, that right now we're talking about right before this situation came up, we're talking about the border. So this one come out, we all focus on that 12 case. The border issue is died down, even though it's still happening, right? And then after that, we're going back. So they're going to bring that 12 back up. We know there's no conviction that's going to take place because first, they don't establish evidence-based or justification, right? They don't use evidence-based inquiry to get their facts in place so that they can prosecute these people. So it's just another joke.
So thank you, Mr. Sapalucia. And basically, I think I want to go back now. We have 5 people that were actually in a hot seat, and out of the 5, 3 got convicted, and the other 2 walked. And I want to go now to the conviction, because I think it's the conviction, the verdict that everybody just kind of hung their head on, and just like, oh, I saw reactions from Liberia, people not happy with the verdict, people not happy with what happened. What was your reaction when you heard the verdict? Because for me, I know exactly where I was, and because my mind was already made up at the very beginning, I was not surprised by the verdict. However, though, I would tell you exactly why I thought that this verdict was the correct one. I will tell you mine. But what was your reaction?
Well, okay, so there are some sticky issues here because I think I listened to some of the witnesses brought from the security sector, which said They had no idea where the money was spent or where it went and all that stuff. And then I think the defense, which is the me number one guy, Samuel Toure said the president giving order and all. There are so many different pieces jumping here and there. But the fact still remain that according to the verdict, that $6.2 million went missing somewhere. That one still remain. Now, from what I know, just looking at the military as an example, if I just look at my department as an example, my department that I run, when anything happens there, the first person to hold accountable is not my staff, it's me. I'm the first person that is held responsible to account for whatever is missing. Even if I was not there when the machine was broken, I'm the one that they asked first, hey, what happened to this machine? What's going on? What was calibration done? Whatever it is, I'm the first person that my leadership will come to before I can go and do the investigation. So before they can hold my staff accountable, I'm the one first. Now, in this case, this guy, from what we know, based on the finance minister's job, he's the one that this person did stuff. So he has it, and that's not a small. We're not talking $10,000. We're talking $6.2 million, right? $10,000. Their budget we know from we who work in other department. There are budgets that a certain guy can sign for, like $5,000 and $10,000, $150,000. You guys your level of whatever, or your status in that department can allow you to sign for a certain amount of money. Now, when it comes to the millions, I am sure that will be at the higher level, especially looking at a country like Liberia. Our budget is 90 trillion. Okay, so $6 million has to be somebody signing maybe at a minister level, right, to give approval for that money to be dispersed. Now, how he is set free and the people that honor him are found guilty, that is what I'm still trying to wrap my head around. But again, this is a pattern that is in Liberia. When the big stakes are there, they let them go, and the small fish are the one to put in. So it was not strange to me. But I don't think it's the right, in my opinion, I don't think it's the right verdict, because I saw some of the lawyers from some of the defendants are saying they need a retrial or everybody should be acquitted. So maybe when they start digging up their case, maybe go to retrial, then maybe Samuel Toure will come back. I don't know. But right now, I don't know what decision to take on this particular one. I don't think it was fair, in my opinion.
Okay. Stephen, let me hear from you, sir. I know you're here. Let me just hear your opinion on the verdict, and then we'll go.
Well, again, thank you, Sapolosa, for giving a point on that. For me, listening to it, I was busy in the bush doing things, and when I came in the evening, I heard people talking about it. Oh, at the verdict, they let Samuel Toure go, and I think the whole trial was so fast. Right, it was so fast and it ran so quick that I was surprised, because something that big, it should take weeks and at least months for it to go through and be completed. So the investigative process and everything that was involved, I don't know how it was done. And then he came out to be exonerated and let go and things. So it's a little surprising to me how the whole thing went out. And I heard people talking in the background in Liberia that maybe he has some stuff against other people, that if they had found him guilty, he was going to bring other people in government currently in high places out. So they had to let him go. But again, honestly, when the case came out, I had the same feeling that you had, Sherry. So I really didn't follow it like I supposed to. But the result was still heartbroken as a Liberian. I wish a little work would have been done, because a lot of money was missing in the country, even going as far to the COVID-19 money we used to pay, the $75 each of us pay when we're going to Liberia. All that money just went in the system. We don't know what it was used for, and nobody is answering question for that. So it's I have a little disappointing take on the whole situation, on the whole thing. So
it's $150, not $75.
So here's my thing, right? I will tell you exactly. I know this case is over, the verdict is out. We've been talking about it, the verdict is out. But this is why I truly believe this verdict was the correct one. And it is not because, again, I always using the caveat. It is not because I don't think something wrong was done. But we just watching court cases, watching lawyers do that thing in courtrooms, and all these different things, and what we know about prosecuting criminal cases. Look, they have something. I know all these lawyers know that. I think Arthur Johnson was the lawyer for Samuel Toure. These guys They know something about following the money trail. Now, when they follow the money trail, if you can go back and you say, look, we tracked this $6.2 million, it came, look, the way the money was dispersed in the first place was wrong. The entire process was wrong. They were saying we're
Okay.
used for security. We can't put our hand on that. Election was over. So I don't know why we needed additional money to go into national security issues for the election and all of that. So it doesn't make sense. However, though, the minister senator, he did something that was very clever. And I think when people know that they are doing the wrong thing, sometimes they do smart things. He did something that was clever. You cannot trace that money and go all the way down the road, whether any checking account, savings account, overseas account, offshore account, you can't put any of that money in the man's account. His senator's account. You did not go to his house to look for his mattress to say, oh, we found $3.2 million under your mattress. And most people in Liberia keep that money in their little safe inside their house. Now everybody taking money to the bank. And so when criminals want to do things, they're not going to kind of take that money and go put it in some kind of bank somewhere because they know investigators going to be tracking. And so the money, it has no tracking on it. You can't put the money inside the Twelve's account. All you can put onto it is his signature, his approval that said, yes, I gave this money based on information I was given. I was told, I was given an order, and I followed that order and I disbursed the money. But we can track that money and say, oh, the money ended in someone's account, or it ended with someone, whether it was Twan, or whether it was the other guy, I think he's from internal audit. The money ended with somebody, and that person said, yeah, I received it and I give it to somebody else, but the person I give it to, I don't know them. But at least we can quote that guy in the middle who said, yes, I received the money. And because you received the money, we know now that you can account for some of that money, or you can tell us exactly who you want to
Where the money
give the money. But the fact that you're not willing to tell us who you gave the money to, will hold you. But because you cannot trace the money and put it back into his account, to say this is, look, they have nothing to hold the man on legally if you just remember the law.
Sharif,
Yes,
based on what Sapolosi has said, though, as a leader, if you are leading an entity, right, when you're disbursing money, you disburse the money for a purpose.
sure.
And the money is supposed to go to certain entity, right? And if that money gets there, you should still have somebody that is going to co-sign. As a country like Liberia, I don't think only the finance minister's signature work on stuff, right? If it goes to another department, somebody have to sign the receipt of that money. So what's that whole process like? That's why I'm saying the system itself failed us, because it's supposed to have been able to trace, okay, when you send money here to this ministry, who's the first person that signed it, what that money is disbursed for. There's document that's supposed to show what funds are disbursed for. But if none of those were brought to the table, then our own judicial system failed us. That's why I said I'm disappointed in that, because they didn't do their due diligence to make sure they get everything they needed to do to handle this case properly. So they themselves have some failures.
I'm going to bring Sapolucia in, but let me just make this point to your point, right? If for some reason, I mean, as a finance minister, I receive an order or I receive a mandate to write a check or to disburse funds to this entity, especially national security. When you disburse that fund, Steve, you got no other follow-up. You just want to make sure that the money went to the right place. So the follow-up is no longer in your care. Okay. Now, but let me just say this national security thing. Okay. National security, that place has always been used not just the government and not just the previous government, but most government, they use that particular window as the Gorbachev spot.
Even here.
They inflate that particular department budget because you know why? Audit is not done on that department. So they can put money in there, just sitting there. And then when the money comes, they say national security. When you say you're going to ask the national security director, like, hey, where did you guys spend the money? What was the money for? National security. The man doesn't have to tell you that, oh, we put somebody at this border, or we brought special agent to do national security. Okay, they don't have to give you that detail, and because of that, governments have always used that particular agency as a money laundering department. So I'm not surprised here that we did the same thing. They put money into that account. Just imagine they were about to leave office. All the stealing that they have done, they were about to leave office. But before they left office, they still had to go back and get some money out of there, and just put money in their pocket. And so you can't come back now and say, "Look, we want to know the detail. How was the money spent? What was the national?" None of that is not needed. And so because of that, no, Twitter have no right to go and say, "Look, I want to know where the money is, who received it, how was it." No, he disbursed the money as he was told. And that is the first thing when he started doing that when he went to court. He said, "Hey, you know what? I was given an order." And they told him, "Said, bro, the only person who is exempt is the president." And ignorant is not an excuse for you to say you can't find you guilty for that, right? And so I just want to make that point. Let me bring Sabalucia in.
Go ahead. River says Pro, you can definitely call in when you're ready. Just let us know. We'll pick up your call, okay?
So, Sherry, why it is true when you disperse money, and so this is a finance minister, you still need a signature of who received that money.
And they did.
Okay. Now, but it seems like I'm not talking about those that are within the finance ministry. No, because they are still part of the finance ministry. They still part of it. However, those the end recipient, like the national security, you don't have to give detail of how you use the money at national security, but you still need a representative at the national security to indicate that they signed for that money. But there was a unless I missed that part, but there was some, from what I got from some of the proceeding that I follow, there was a communication indicating that they were not aware of where the money went. So that is a problem. But for me, I don't really want us to dwell on the Samuel Tour case, because this Samuel Tour case should just show, it should highlight what is going on systematically, right? Because is a pattern, not it is becoming, but it is a pattern in Liberia. And that's why I said if we go back 20 years and walk our way forward to 2026, you will see the pattern continue to go on, where there will be a high profile case. Ellen Johnson said it. Let's look at the Crocker case. Okay, there was another one. It was in the media. It was everywhere. Where did I go? Nowhere. Harry Grieve case. It went up. Murder case. Woo! It just died down. It had been consistent. Alex Tyler case. Woo! And we just hear it goes down. Eddie Snow, robbery. Woo! It goes. I mean, and so you remove Eddie Snow as a speaker because of robbery case. You move Alex Tyler as a speaker because of robbery case. No investigation, no conviction. Vanny Shermer was another guy who was also persecuted. No, I mean, so it's just over and over. We can go to the Gifty Lama car incident, another political stunt. So I am just not looking at just this guy, Samuel Tour, because there are many people that are going to come with the same situation where we see whether it's rape cases, molestation cases. We got people who are not influential in jail. Some of them guilty of the act, some of them not guilty of the act. But the fact that they say he or she did it, they are in jail. Whereas you got people who, if you were to take careful analysis of the DNA and all these different impact and look at the pattern, the witnesses, the testimony, and all the other things, these people will be linked to those crimes. But because they were senators, because they were representatives, or they were some high-profile person, those cases go nowhere. So I don't want us to limit this show to just Samuel Tour. Let us look at the broader picture of what's going on in our country, which is disturbing, by the way. So I really want us to look at it that way. If you look at, we're talking multiple cases.
Yeah, no, I agree. And basically, I think we just have to have a premise where to start and then take off from there. So, but I definitely agree with you. We have to look at the all-around judicial system in the country and how cases are being judged in the country. River Pro, go ahead. We're listening, and I think the guys can hear you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Brother Sharif and Steve and Sap. This is an interesting conversation. I don't move on yet because I heard Sap trying to move on. I just want to make my little contribution. I want to ask a question and then kind of like elaborate a little bit and You guys hear me, right?
Yeah. Go ahead. We're listening. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, as regarding this case, the outcome of this case, the verdict of this case, what does it show you guys over the three of you? Does it tell you that our justice system works, or that our justice system is has a flaw? Because this is my thing, guys. So for me, the fact that I look at one thing, guys, I know people look at it differently, but I look at that jury or the juror, and I'm looking at the decision they made, and the fact that they stood up in front of the state prosecutor. How often does that happen in Liberia? You know, when I was growing, you know, I mean, maybe normal day, yeah, but now where the government looks scary, chief justice locking people up, prosecuting everybody going to jail, for that jury to stand up and tell those people, you know what, the evidence is weak, and for them to have one decision. I don't know, they call it unanimous. The both people call it unanimous decision, and that was not even how you call it, how they call it, guys, when one or two person, or that's a name for it. One
There's no hung jury.
person,
There's not a hung jury.
decisions.
There's no.
Yeah.
It was not split. It was
tells
not
me-
hung. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Brother Sherry. It tells me something. I'm sitting and thinking, like, well, it shows. Can you imagine how they put hungry in a place, guy? I mean, sorry to say it, but I mean, that's the fact. When I say hungry, maybe not physically, but when it comes to find out their rent and other things, you know, things not easy. For those people to stand firm and say, Sameto of all people, despite of everything being, were all against Sameto. Like 90% of Liberians thought they melt. For those jury, you know, men for you know, there's Sameto drive the jury. And guys, you know, finally, you know, before you answer the question, I think my thing is, yeah, the system worked, but then there's another flaw, because I'm looking at here in America, because now they say the government want to investigate, and according to American law, yeah, the jury, after a verdict, the jury, they are under no obligation to speak to anybody. That's why they see how many times jury decision has not gone against us black people. When I say black, African American, but we are in solidarity. The Trayvon Martin case, the jury made a decision. A lot of police brutality, police killing. Most of the time, you will find out that the jury side with the police because the evidence is there. So why is it our country now, they want to investigate you? I've been in America almost 20 years. I never heard that some of the jury, they leave, you don't hear their point, they don't say nothing, they don't talk to nobody. Some of them decide to they go back on air and give their reason. But then I think the flaw of the system is, so I'm thinking, guys, like, what if the Prophet Key case were going to go to jury? What if the what if other cases that were decided upon Supreme Court judges and this, what if it had gone to jury? Well, we'll have a different outcome. So I think I look at the jury decision as positive, and I'm looking at all court matter, you know, that we got a problem, but then I also look at the jury decision that my justice system worked. So that's my point. I don't know if you guys got my point, but that's exactly you know, where I stand with it. So I want to know if you guys think in light of all of this, if our justice system, I mean, in light of this unanimous decision by the jury, do you think it's a positive for our justice system, or there's something wrong with our justice system? Thank you very much for having me, fellows. I'll be listening.
Revo says pro. Thank you, brother. We appreciate your opinion all the time. We really do appreciate your input. Thank you. All right. So Sapo Lucia, let's try to make sense of the question, and let's try to answer the question as much as we can. The question is a very beautiful question, and the feedback that River Says Pro gave, it is right on point. When we started, you know, I started on show by saying I truly believe that this was the right verdict, and now I'm going to support it by the question that my good friend River Says Pro is asking, whether we believe the system worked. This particular verdict, it makes me feel like that the system works, and I will explain why. Many times, you know, when the case was first announced, it was portrayed in the media that the Unity Party government was going after seditions, going after Sametwe, is witch hunting him, and all of these different things. The court and they were very confident that the court would find him guilty because, quote unquote, it's unity party government, it's unity party court system, and all of that. So I was very uncomfortable with that when I started hearing that, because you don't want anybody going to court. And because that person was in opposition, you start saying, oh, okay, we're going to get him one way or the other. And so they started using the same rhetoric and the same language that President Trump was using in this country, where when people were really coming after him for crime that he committed, he would say witch hunt and inflame his base, inflame other people. But I truly believe the fact that, yes, this was a unity party government, and yes, the fact that jurors was actually selected for this jury, and yes, the fact that there was not a single one of those jurors that came out to say, look, we, the jury, find this man guilty. And we don't know what happened in the jury room. But I've not heard anything where there was this disagreement, where people were moving back and forth and people were just kind of struggling. They came with this unanimous decision. And that gives me confidence that they examined all of the evidence that were provided to them. And based on the evidence that the government presented, the government was not able, because in these cases, the government have the burden of proof. The government have to prove it beyond all unreasonable doubt. And so the government was not able to articulate or to tell the jurors that when Samuel Toure, here's the check that Samuel Toure wrote, $6.2 million. And from there, we track this money and we see that, yes, it went to Toure, it went to the other people, it went to national security people that were in the middle. But then the money left from there and then was deposited in this account. When we track this account, we look up this account, we see that this account was connected to Musu Brown, and that Musu Brown is the auntie of Samuel Toure. The government could not do any of that. And because they could not do that, the jurors, in true faith and true democracy form, could not look at Samuel Toure and say, look, we find you guilty. The other three that were found guilty, at some point in time, you can see that the money stopped with them. They receive it. They admitted to getting the money, but then pass it on to someone else. And we don't know who that someone else is. Maybe they're hiding somebody. They're protecting somebody. But if they did so, it's at their own downfall. But I mean, this really tells me, honestly, to answer Riversed's pro question, that the system works and the jurors, they were well informed and they follow the order or the mandate that the court gave them to convict based on the evidence and to acquit based on evidence or no evidence. And so they follow it, and they were able to to make my last point to let you come in here. The last thing too, I was very shocked about also was the simple fact that all of the jurors, nobody came out to say, there was a hung jury. One person did not agree, but it was unanimous. That surprised me. And the reason that surprised me in these kind of cases, high-profile cases, I was expecting that somebody will at least say, I'm not satisfied. But they came with a unanimous decision. That tells me that the system works. Sabalusia, go ahead, sir.
Oh, okay. I thought you were still talking. But anyway, I see it from a different angle. First of all, there is history in Liberia of jury tampering. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it have not happened before and it's not happening. There is jury tampering, and that's I honestly, and I look at it from the point that River says made, that people are hungry in the country. Now, whether they make informed decision based on the evidence, I wouldn't go that far to say that, because knowing what I know about jury tampering when it comes to the Liberian judicial system, what have happened in Eddie Snow case before, it happened in other criminal cases before, where jury were tampered with, either they were considered. In fact, let us go to Vani Sherman case. That's a typical one to tell us, where he was accused of bribing the judge that sat on his case to acquit him. So if it is happening to a judge who is sitting on a bench that is getting paid by the Liberian government, who can afford somewhat money, and he's still being bribed to acquit somebody, that is a problem for me. Then what's about a man you find in from the street who can bet it, he or she they're not paying them that they're supposed to pay them? That's one thing, because if you are working Okay, this will give you, I think, 10 to 15% of your income. If a classroom teacher is making $150, 10% of your $150, what is that? It's nothing. So he or she may not want to sit in that place, or rather be in a classroom to do whatever they can do to get a little chopping on the side. So whether they were making informed based on evidence, I don't want to go that. I don't want to stretch it to that extent. That's one thing. So juror temporary have happened in Liberia, and I'm sure it is still happening in Liberia. And looking at the case, in fact, if we look at again, I'll go back. I'm always going back to that history because I remember when they did the Edwin Snow case, when the child without robbery. One of the reasons some of the lawyers that came from that proceeding and talking about the judge, the prosecutor, they said, "Oh, we don't want to prosecute the people. We don't want to find them guilty because the backlash they will get from public, from public scrutiny or from the elite." And it has been evidenced and documented in Liberia that judges render decisions because of political interference. It is not new. We can talk about the Cabinet General case. We can talk about many other cases that have happened in the country that either people were acquitted. We can look at the Crocon case from the LAA. I think she was the managing director for Liberia Aviation or something like that. We can look at her case. Political interference was played in that, and she left the country known to the government. They pretended that they didn't know. Now, when you reference where they say, "Oh, they thought he was going to be guilty," the United Party people thought he was going to be guilty. Well, I can also tell you that the same United Party people felt that Vani Sherman was going to be guilty because they were making publicity. They were all over the place saying it. At the end of the day, he was not found guilty. The same United Party, when they went after Tyler, they said, "Oh yeah, they're going to do this, they're going to do that." At the end of the day, nothing happened. So there's a pattern. For the Tour case, that's why I'm saying I don't want to just focus on the Tour case. I want to look at the pattern that is going on in our country. Now, there's a point that he made when he compared, and I don't want to let this go, when he compared Liberia to here. The George Zimmerman case, and I have always told people this, people should not mix that up. They were not trying George Zimmerman with murder. If you look at that case, if people really pay attention to that case, the prosecutor and the defendant, they put stand your ground law on the forefront of that case. They were not trying murder cases. But people have because the media were pushing out about the murder. Even though in court, if you look at the court proceeding, the people were actually trying to defend their law, and that's the law that they found, and they used that loophole to get the man out. So I just wanted to make that point over there, right? Because they were not really trying George Zimmerman for murder. They were putting their law, and they didn't want to defeat their law because they were going to defeat the purpose of that law. But anyway, let's go back to Liberia. So, in my opinion, this verdict, with many others, have not really been fair because the judicial system is being compromised by political interference, popularity, or elite interference, and whatever nomenclature you want to use for it. So I don't think it was fair. And the judicial system, especially with the jury, if the jurors are well informed and are independent, in my opinion, there's a chance that they will find to be a hung juror. These kind of sentences to really find out where you don't have somebody questioning, but okay, if the money went to the underhand, you want to tell me the underhand didn't inform the boss or who they're giving the money to? That's something that should make you scratch your head.
Yeah, there are many cases. Now, Steve, I'll bring you here for a second. But somebody I was saying there's some cases that definitely it will make you scratch your head. However, legally, that is not evidence.
I understand that. I'm not disputing the legality.
You must say when we finish talking, you must say can pick up the phone and call each other and say, "My man, the people ate that money. Two of them ate the money." We can talk about that. But when you're standing in the courtroom, that is not evidence. That is not evidence.
I understand.
And so that is unfortunately, or let's say fortunately, when jurors, when they go in there and they're receiving that instruction, I have been lucky. I love it. I have been lucky to serve on two different juries, one in the state of Colorado, one in Texas, to serve on two different jurors. And I at least I know what American courtroom system kind of look like. When you go there and you're sitting there and the judge comes and giving instruction to you, the jurors, and telling you the nature of this case. And the only thing I see different is that maybe you can convince me to say maybe there was jury tampering, because here, depending on the nature of the case, those jurors were advised don't read any newspaper. on the case. Don't watch any TV on the case. Don't take phone call from. Don't talk to even people in your community. Matter of fact, in some cases, the jurors never went home. They have a place that they stay until the case was over.
Mhm.
But in this case, in Liberia, I know the jurors they were going home. They were still having time with their family. They were talking about these cases, maybe on Kerry Street. They were still talking about someone. So there were. So you can say at that particular point in time, the jury was tainted because of the outside information, all of these different things. Maybe again at that point in time, you can say, yeah, the jury was tainted because 12 people went around and they knew these jurors and they contacted them and bribed them. You can say all of that. But my brother, at the end of the day, legally standing in court, when you're standing before the legal minds, I mean, the people that could have made the case for us, Appaloosa, those that were convicted, if they have taken a plea deal and said, look, yes, you can put the money in my hand. So because of this, I want to take a plea deal to be a state witness. If those people have done so, maybe we'll know the back door where the other money end up instead of them telling us, oh yeah, we received the money and some group of people came and we gave them the money. We didn't know where they came from.
Sheriff,
Maybe we'll know
Sheriff,
who those
that's a
people were.
sacrificial lamb. That's a sacrificial. Knowing like, bro, what's happening there? That's a sacrificial lamb. Nobody
Yeah,
wants a sacrificial lamb.
and
That's not going to happen.
and honestly, I think those people that they found guilty should be put under state protection, right? Because
Exactly.
the way people disappear in Liberia and nothing happened, if those folks eventually decide to tell the truth of where that money landed, someone may lose their life on that. I mean, like even just the auditor that were auditing the previous government, some of them lost their life. Then imagine somebody who knows something really. The money got in this person here. You want to tell me he know who he gave that money to? They do know who they gave the money to. So if the person that they gave that money to is somebody really big and that person want to protect their identity or protect themselves, they could do something to eliminate those people. So I think those people should be put under some special protection for now. But what I just wanted to say was, in the U.S., Sheriff, when we're doing jury selection, they send you this letter, they send you this questionnaire, and you answer those questions. Based on those questions, based on the case that they're calling you for, if you say anything that is either in support or against the case that you're going to be serving as a juror on, they don't accept you. I'm a witness for that because when they ask me some question, I answer it fairly like the way I know myself. And I wasn't accepted to go and serve because I answer it fairly. So my question is, for Riverside Pro, let's assume based on what the jury did, the system is working. But how were they selected? Like you said, if they were in the community, were they asked to remain quiet, to keep their anonymity, like keep themselves secret until the case is over, right? Did they do that? And all those kind of stuff. If they didn't, then eventually we had a tainted jury, like you were saying. But all these things, somebody's supposed to keep an eye on this. If they didn't do that, then the system itself failed because you take 12 folks. Those 12 folks in Liberia, it's easy to bribe people. You understand? It's very easy to bribe people. And if those 12 people, individuals were known by those that were being tried, eventually they could have bribed them. And I can't set a limit on how much they could have given them. But if this huge sum of money was involved and these people still have money, these are people that were running the government, they still have money, they could give these people something that will fold their hair enough that they could say anything in their favor. You understand? So my question to the Liberian government or to the judicial system, how the selection process of the jury ran and how private was this kept, right? Did they tell anybody in the case who these people were? If they did, then they definitely feel the Liberian people. I just wanted to add that. I'll go back in the background and enjoy it.
No, but you see, this is a high-profile case. There is no way none of these jurors in Liberia, knowing the climate of Liberia, where everybody is fascinated with social media and all this stuff that's going on. Everybody in their tie shop, everybody somewhere else. They would tell me those jurors would answer a question regarding this case. Say, oh, I've never heard about it. I don't have this position. In fact, in a country where everything has become political, there is nothing that goes through now that has no political lens. You talk about a man to eat his own food, it becomes politics. You're telling him somebody can find you food to live better life, he's to make it politics. So it's almost impossible to find that neutral person that would be independent and say, look, I've never heard about this. I don't know what's going on, and I'm blind to it. Because normally that's what it is. When I go through the judicial, the juror selection here, that's what they do. And to answer River because he said he find it impossible for 12 people to be bribed. Well, then you are really not living like Liberia before. Because if we are 12, the only time you will hear noise from the bribery case in Liberia if somebody is cheated. But if we all saw the money, it is $1,000 or $10,000, and everyone of us got equal share, you will not hear fling. But if I find out that somebody got more money, that's the only time. So if you don't know that, or River says, that's the only time you hear noise. There can be 50
Again, just to add, that's what I was saying. Depending on how much the bribe, how much the bribe that was given to them, or something. But again, at least we see something happening in our judicial system.
There is one point that I made earlier that I want us to look at. Again, I always feel that it doesn't matter what government have been, because it happened under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, it happened under George Weah, and it's happening under this government. Whenever they have high-profile cases, in my opinion, they are doing it intentionally not to really find these people guilty, because they're expecting the same treatment to be given to them. Because if you look at all of the investigation, they don't bring the evidence that will convict any of their people. Always bring evidence and start looking for something. You can't bring a case to a court and then you start looking for and start asking the defendant for evidence. Are you crazy? You want me to incriminate myself? Because this is a similar thing they were doing. When they started this case did not just come to court today or last month or so. This is something that have been going on. They've been doing this underground investigation for a long time. So you should have found out all of your evidence, every pieces, before bringing the case to court. They did the same thing a few weeks. I think there was another case about even the lady or the cap who was seizing her cap or the AD cap to George Weah. The lady who was taking her cash. Finabono. They did the same thing. So they don't gather enough evidence. Why? Because in my opinion, they're doing it intentionally so that when that time comes, the same thing can be done. Right?
Okay. So
I think that's how they do it.
So Sapolozia, okay. Sapolozia and Sharif, you said something, and I want us to do that quickly before we end the show. We got about 8 minutes or 7 minutes left, right? And we said the Summer Tour case is one in many cases that happen. I just wanted to add something quick that is against the rich and the poor, where you find out they are breaking millions of houses or thousands of homes down, and when they take these people to court, the person with the money usually win the case, no matter and the case goes so fast. So in that case, Sapolozia or Riverside who is watching, is the judicial system really working for the Liberian people, or is it only working for those that are wealthy?
But again, for me, I want to say this though. I think one of the direction I don't want to go as we discuss this is the direction of we assuming that there was a bribe. That is an assumption. Assumption is not a legal thing.
True, Sheriff.
So we are assuming. We do not know how that was done. But what I do know is the Liberian government, we custom make everything around the U.S. system or judiciary system. And so I would think the same way that we select jury here will be the same way that juries were selected in this particular case in Liberia. Now, the government cannot answer that question. We can't put that question in the government and say, how did you select a jury? That's not a government thing. Because the reason why this is important, each of us here, we say we've been on a jury as well. Because we know for you to be selected to get on a jury, you have both the prosecution and you have the defendant. They are actually looking at you and they are filtering. Sometimes you get 100 people in one room and they will nail it down and bring it down to 30. And then they bring it down to the last 20. And they say, okay, the 20 is the one that we really want to be on the jury. Let's bring them in the courtroom. Let's start asking them questions. That's what they did in my case. They brought us in the room, and then both the prosecution and the defendant, they start asking you questions. They start asking some hypothetical
questions. Yeah.
They start asking this question: how will you judge on this particular da 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 da? Are you in favor of this da 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 da? And based on how you answering that question, the prosecutor either love you and the defendant hates you, or both of them they look at it and say, you know what, we can manipulate this guy to be on our case. And then they're like, we agree. They go whisper to the judge, Judge, number 31. We like number 131 to be on the case. They keep doing that until they drop that 30, they drop it down to 13 people. They only need 12 on the jury. One is the alternate. So in this case, both the prosecutor and the defendant, the lawyer, they agree on the jury that was selected. And the fact that they agree on it, whatever the outcome was, it was not a surprise because nobody tied the face of the prosecutor and they said, you're going to choose this jury. No, they all agree on it. They picked their jurors and they knew exactly who they wanted to be on the case. And that's how the cookie broke. So here's close. We don't know about any robbery that took place. We can't go in that direction because we have not heard until one of those jurors come out. Like Sabulisa was saying, say, oh, the guys gave up $5,000 each for us to turn the case this way. Until then, we know Samuel Toy was found not guilty.
Yes, yeah. So again, all of my argument I'm making is not based on this particular case. I'm just talking about what have happened. I'm looking at a pattern. I'm not saying this. I don't know much about these people, but I'm saying what have been happening for the last 20 years. Again, this is a long period of time. This is almost a generation. Somebody who was born 2006 is 20 years old now, and there are a lot of cases that have happened in Liberia. And this is my argument. My argument is based on these patterns that once you are influential, you got political high stake, you align with the elites, you tend to not get guilty unless they really want to get you. Like the Cabinet General case, even though he won a case later on, but the government said they're not giving what he wanted. They will get you out of your job. But when it comes to bribery, we have seen in Liberia all of the bribery cases, and I give because these are public records. The Eric Snow, the Alex Tyler, the Crocker case, all of these cases were brought out. But every time we went somewhere, the evidence was not proven, right? The evidence was not given the way it's supposed to be given. So that is why some of us, based on this pattern that has exclusivity with this particular case, it is based on that some of us are saying, I don't think this was fair, right? I don't know the jurors. I don't know the all the different things, but it's still questionable that the highest profile person in this case was set free of everything, all charges, and then the lower people get it. We can go to the arson case at the Capitol building. We got people in jail, even though they were pointing fingers at certain top elements in government. Those people were on bail and they're walking out. But then some of the core defendants are in jail because they don't have money. And this is the pattern. And I talk about even the rape cases in Liberia, where senators, representatives, and high government officials will be accused of such thing, sometimes with evidence, witnesses proving that it happened, but those people will be walking free. And the lay guy in the community who may not even be involved in it will be in jail. Those are the points. Some of us, that's what my argument is coming from. That the judicial system is not fair.
As we close the show, I want to go back to something you said earlier. I think you just said it and you repeat yourself again. Because the thing here is, when I mentioned those that were convicted in this particular case, the 12 case, I know you want to do a whole big case, I agree. But those that were convicted in the Samuel 12 case, when I mentioned this remarks that they have made, yeah, we received the money, but some people came, we get them the money, we don't know where the money went. When you heard that, the very first thing you said was sacrificial lamb. So if people are willing to take the fall, you can't blame the government for that. There have been people who are willing to take the fall, like the case that you just mentioned, like the arson case. There were people who are willing to take the fall because they feel like their bosses will come and free them. My man, you can't blame the government for that. You
No,
know,
I'm not blaming the government. I'm blaming the justice system. I'm not blaming the government. I'm blaming the justice system the
I
way
mean,
it's
how can you
working.
blame the justice
Because they're
system
not
if
bringing,
somebody
because
put in
okay,
the system?
I'm blaming the government because the government is not bringing enough evidence for the judicial system to work. And then with the minimum evidence they're bringing, the judicial systems themselves sometimes when they have some of the evidence based on who they are, and it's documented. All these things I'm talking about is documented on different cases, right? Over the 20 years. Again, not for this particular case. It's the pattern I'm looking at from the last 20 years. What has happened in the judicial system, where evidence are being brought, but depending on who is being tried, the judicial system will look the other way when the evidence is there to find that person guilty. It have happened under 3 different administrations.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what happened. They're calling the mayor again to come and answer some question. Asset recovery is on the case. So the Finabono case, that was an asset recovery case. So we'll see what happened in that case. We'll see exactly how it plays out. Hopefully, the
But
way the system worked in this particular case, hopefully it will
Jerry,
work in other cases going
Jerry,
forward.
is the government really serious for bribery or corruption? They should start with themselves. And some of us said it way back when we started this
Sure.
show. If you want to start assets recovery and all that stuff, when you started your government 2025, when the corruption started under your administration, start investigating it and finding those people guilty, and then before you can go for an opposition. But you have not cleaned your own house and you're trying to go after other people. It's a waste of our time. And you're using government resources. That money could be used to fix the hospital, the schools, and other places. And stop wasting our time.
I agree. I agree. So on this note, Mr. Sapolista, I don't know if Steven is still here. I think Steven wanted to say something. So
No, I mean, if you're ready for us to wrap up, I just want to say my wrap or my closing statement too. Just
yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead. You will go ahead and do your closing. I'll do my closing, and Sapolista can end the show.
right. So to our Liberian people, to the judiciary system, we the common people are just appealing to you to do the right thing for all of us. There are people that our homes are being destroyed after 40, 50 years of living on the land. Just because somebody have more money, they come and say this land, 40, 50 acres is for them, and they can break their houses without any fair trial. We are appealing to you to start taking these things serious because a lot of people are being hurt. We had a situation where 4th Street people houses were broken down because of one person said they own this property, and I don't know how these cases have been tried, that only one person keep winning this case over and over, and people are suffering, people are being made homeless because of these kind of cases. And as you try these cases, we need you to step up your investigation and make sure that people really get tried, the cases really get reviewed, so that everybody get their fair share of the law, so that Liberian people can live happily ever after in their own country. So on that note, I just want to say thank you to you guys, Sharif, Sapolosia, for the topic, and thanks for keeping the show going. I'm back. Hopefully we get more discussion, great discussion like this with us Pro and everyone else watching. I just want to say thank you. You guys have a great day.
All right, everyone in Liberia. So basically, I think the whole discussion has been about, I know for me, I wanted to make this conversation about the verdict in the Summit 2 case. Look, I don't know until I know any other information, until something else comes up. The fact of the matter here is those that needed to be convicted in this particular case, they were convicted based on evidence. Now, again, I got to qualify my statement. I do not sit here and support the idea that there was nothing wrong by Mr. Twer or whoever the money ended in their account. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying, if you just go by the legal system, if you just go by what should be done, following evidence, the Liberian government was not able to prove that Mr. 12 did anything wrong or that he had the money in his account. And because they could not track that money, they could not track that money, and they could not tie the money directly to Mr. 12. I can sit here and go to bed and be comfortable and sleep good at night knowing that the system worked, because this is exactly what should happen. If there is no evidence, you should not bring conviction upon someone, even if you thought that person did something wrong. Even if you thought, your spirit tells you that that person is wrong, you cannot convict in the absence of evidence. There have been people, whether it's in America or any part of the world, that have walked free, and something in our spirit tells us us that person did it. I can go back to cases, whether it's the O.J. Simpson case, O.J. and Nicole Brown, all of those people. O.J., I mean, when they said not guilty, you saw that man just, you can tell he was shocked that that he was found not guilty in that particular case. So people know, they know what they have done. But if the government or the prosecution cannot prove that case, my friends, don't go by pressure to convict. You have to convict based on evidence. On that note, I will end my case. And Sapolicia, thank you so much for participating with me. I will let you shut down the show today, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif and Dr. Positive. Thank you for this conversation today. Well, for the Liberian people, I want us to really look at what have happened in our country for the last 20 years when it comes to the justice system. The justice system, in my opinion, is not serving our people well because we keep seeing those who are in the elite get away with crimes. Okay, we need our government before bringing a case to the court to bring sufficient evidence. We cannot intentionally be bringing these cases just to score political points because I feel that that's what has been happening for the last 20 years. Every government comes in, they want to tell the Liberian people they're fighting corruption, but in actuality, they're really not. They're just trying to put some smoke screen out there for the Liberian people to be focusing on why they're stealing more money, they themselves, and pocketing it. That needs to stop. Judicial system should work for everybody regardless of who it is. No, it is about time that everybody see that this blind justice or the liberty, the lady of justice that is blind, let it be blind to everybody, right? Let justice be done at all levels. Now, we're not saying it's going to be perfect. There is nothing that's going to be perfect about our judicial system. However, in the last 20 years, it has just been used as a political scorecard, where when I'm in power, what I want is what's going to happen. We need to fund our justice system, pay them equally, and let it be independent of what's going on. Government, if you want to fight corruption, be intentional about it. Find facts-based evidence, submit it to the court, and do not bring in jurors that you will not educate, because what you bring to the juror is what they're going to use to convict. And I hope these jurors are also protected based on your selection that you're making, because we don't want these things that keep coming up. Every cases that have come with high-profile people, whether it's the Musu Scott case, whether it's the Brandon Samukai case when it came to the defense money. I mean, it's just all over the place. We can't get any hang of what's going on. Let us start now rebranding our justice system so that it can serve all Liberians. But the last 20 years have not been good for our Liberian justice system. With that, I want to say, Liberians, if Liberia shall rise, we all need to work together to improve every sector of our country. Let our government work for us. I say thank you. Have a blessed and a lovely week.